Hello everyone. In this video, we'll go over the Vocabulary Workshop Level Blue Unit 11 words. You can follow along at home using your book. Let's get started. Our first word is absurd. Absurd is an adjective and it means making no sense at all, going completely against reason or having no reason. The example says, "No one is going to believe such an absurd story." So when something is absurd, it makes no sense. It can sound silly, strange, or maybe people might have a hard time believing it. So I could say something like, it would be absurd to wear a winter coat to the beach in July. When the weather is super hot and sunny, why would someone wear a winter coat? That would make no sense, so I can describe it as being absurd. Another example would be, the excuse that a monster ate his homework is completely absurd. There's no way a teacher would really believe that a monster ate your homework, so that would be absurd. Or maybe even something like, it seems absurd to walk for 3 hours when the bus is right there. It's something that makes no sense. The next word is avalanche. Avalanche is a noun, and an avalanche is a large mass of snow, ice, rocks, or other material sliding or falling swiftly down a mountainside, or something resembling such an event. For example, the skiers were almost buried by an avalanche that came roaring down the slope. So when a large amount of snow, ice, or rocks comes down a mountain, like in this picture here, this is what we would call an avalanche. It can also be used just to describe a huge amount of something that's coming down all at one time. So another example would be, an avalanche of rocks blocked the mountain road. The next word is classify. Classify is a verb and it means to group or label in an organized way. For example, libraries classify books by title, author, and subject. So when you classify things, you're sorting them into groups in some kind of organized way. And we usually do that by what they have in common. So one common example is animals. We can classify animals into vertebrates or invertebrates. And then within those two categories, we can further classify them. So I can talk about vertebrate animals that are warm-blooded and those that are cold-blooded. And then we can even further classify them into mammals, birds, fish, amphibian, and reptiles. So this is what we mean when we say we are classifying things. Another thing I could say is, the teacher asked us to classify the words as nouns, verbs, or adjectives. For all of our vocabulary words here, you might notice the verb or the adjective or noun symbol next to them. So they are already classified based on what kind of word they are. We can also classify things like foods. I can classify foods as fruits, vegetable, grains, or proteins, for example. The next word is insure. Insure is a verb and it means to make sure, safe, or certain, to guarantee. So when you insure something, you make sure that it happens or that it is safe. It's like taking steps so that there is a good result. The example says, the playground was designed to ensure the children's safety. So when someone is designing a playground, they want to make sure that it is safe. So that's why we use this word insure when we want to say we are making sure something is true or correct. Another example would be, the lifeguard watches the pool to ensure everyone's safety. Or I could say, please check your backpack to ensure you have your homework. Or, wearing a helmet helps ensure your safety while biking. And lastly, we locked the door to ensure the room was safe. So again, when you want to say that something makes sure that something is safe or certain, you can use this word insure. The next word is navigate. Navigate is a verb and it means to plan and steer the course of a vessel or vehicle, to make one's way, get around. So when you navigate, you find your way and you figure out how to get from one place to another. Pilots, drivers, sailors, and even people who are just walking through a new place all need to navigate to get to where they want to go. The example sentence says, a pilot uses charts and instruments to navigate a helicopter. And this word instruments here is talking about the different screens like these that airplanes and helicopters might have that help pilots know where they need to go. So this is how they navigate. This is how they find their way. I could also make a sentence like, the hikers learned how to navigate with a compass. A compass is a tool that has been around for a very long time, and it helps people figure out which way they need to go, whether that's north, south, east, or west. If you visit a new city, you might need a map to help you navigate around the city. Or I could make a sentence like, it was hard to navigate the crowded market. If there are a lot of people in a place, it might be hard to get around and go where you need to go. The next word is nestle. Nestle is a verb and it means to settle down comfortably, to hold lovingly. So when you nestle, you settle into a comfortable, cozy place. It can also mean that you're holding someone in a close or gentle or loving way. The example says, the child likes to nestle in her grandmother's lap. Or I could make a sentence like, the puppy nestled into the soft blanket. So it laid down comfortably into this soft blanket. Or I could say, he nestled beside his mom while reading a book. So he got very comfortable here beside his mom. Or I could say the baby birds nestled under their mother's wings. So you can see the birds here are very comfortably hiding there inside their mother's wings. So again, anytime that you are settling down or laying down somewhere very comfortably or holding something very lovingly, you can use this word nestle to describe that action. The next word is plea. Plea is a noun, and a plea is an urgent request for help, or it can be the answer given in a law court by a person accused of a crime. So a plea is usually a serious or urgent request, usually because someone really needs help. So an example of that would be this picture here. I could say the lost child made a plea for help. So maybe she got lost, so she did an urgent request for help. That is a plea. Or I could say the shelter sent out a plea for blankets and food. So they sent out a request for help because they needed more food and blankets to give to people that are in need. Similarly, I could say, his plea for more time convinced the teacher to wait one more day. Maybe he really wasn't finished with his homework or his project, so he did a plea to the teacher so that she would give them more time. The other definition says, the answer given in a law court by a person accused of a crime. So the person who is accused of a crime is the one that we think did the thing that is illegal. And that person has to make a plea or say a plea. And usually that is going to be either that they are guilty, that they did do the illegal thing, or that they are not guilty. That's going to be their plea. The example sentence here says, the judge accepted the defendant's plea of not guilty. So again, a plea can be a very serious request for help, or when someone says that they are guilty or not guilty in a law court. Our next word is principle. Principle is a noun, and a principle is a basic rule or law on which others are based. A belief used to tell right from wrong. So, this principle is not talking about the person who works at a school and usually is in charge of all the teachers and things happening at a school. That's a different principle. This principle is talking about an important rule or something you believe that helps you decide what is right and what is wrong. So, for example, a judge must be a person of high principle. So, someone who has high principles can tell what things are correct and wrong. That's why the sentence says that a judge is someone who has to have high principles because they decide whether people go to prison or not. Another example is honesty is an important principle in our house. So, being honest is a basic rule that we all follow, and it helps us decide what is right and what is wrong. So, even if you do something wrong, you have to be honest about it. That is an important principle. Or I could say, he refused to cheat because it went against his principles. So he does not believe in cheating. It's not a belief that he has. So he refused to cheat, even though his friend wanted to cheat. I can also say he returned the lost wallet because of his strong principles. So again, principles are rules or beliefs that you use to decide what is right and what is wrong. And usually people who have high principles or strong principles are very honest people. The next word is realistic. Realistic is an adjective and it means using facts and good sense to evaluate people, things, or situations, concerned with the practical, resembling real life. So when something is realistic, that means that it is based on something that could actually happen. It can also describe art, stories, or pictures that look real or feel very close to real life. The example says, the painting was so realistic that it looked like a photograph. So this picture here is actually a painting. It's not a real picture of a person. But you can see that it's so realistic, it looks like it could be real. So we can use realistic to describe paintings that look real. I can also think about things that might really happen. One of my favorite movies is Matilda. However, in this movie, the character Matilda goes to the library by herself since she was a very young little girl, and she's able to read a bunch of difficult books all by herself. Although it's a fun story, these things are not very realistic to me. It doesn't seem like something that could actually happen in real life. So, in this case, I think it's not very realistic. I could also say something like, it's not realistic to finish a huge project in 5 minutes. We can think about all of the work that goes into a project. We need to use our good sense to know how much time we would need to complete that. So we can understand that it would not be realistic to be able to do a bunch of work in just 5 minutes. And this example here too, there are 2 different cat stuffed animals. The first one is not realistic, and the second one is realistic. It looks more real. Both of them, we can look at them and understand that they are cats, but only this second one looks realistic. The next word is security. Security is a noun, and security means freedom from danger, fear, or doubt. Safety. For example, there is always heavy security around the White House. So security means being safe from danger or harm. It's a feeling that people might have. It can also mean that people or things are helping keep others safe and protected. So other examples are, the guards were there to provide security for the event. They were there to make sure that there was no danger. Or I could say, the airport has strict security to keep travelers safe. Similarly, cameras were installed to improve the building's security. Both security guards and cameras are two things that we use to keep us safe from danger. And this example sentence, there is always heavy security around the White House. This picture here would describe that. As you can see, this is the White House where the President of the United States lives. And around the White House, there is heavy security. There's a lot of guards making sure that nothing bad is happening. The next word is selective. Selective is an adjective and it means very careful about choosing or using. When someone is selective, they think carefully about what they're going to choose. They don't just pick the first thing that they see. Instead, they take time to choose what they think is best. So I can say, my dad is a selective shopper when it comes to buying new cars. So he's not just going to buy the first car that he sees, he's going to be selective. He's going to be very careful about choosing the correct car for him. Or I could say, the coach was selective when choosing players for the team. He made sure all the athletes he chose were the best. Lastly, I could say, the chef is selective when choosing fresh ingredients. He doesn't just pick any ingredients to cook with, he only chooses the freshest ones. So he is very selective. So again, anytime that you are very careful when you are choosing something, you are being selective. And the example sentence here, it pays to be a very selective shopper, means that if you are careful about selecting things when you buy, then that means you're probably going to get better items that are in better condition. So that's why it says it pays. As in, you're going to be spending your money wisely instead of wasting your money on a product that maybe is not very good quality. The last word is tart. Tart can be an adjective or a noun. As an adjective, it means having a sharp or sour taste, sharp in manner or tone. So there's two ways we could use it. The first is anything with a sharp sour taste, such as a lemon. You can see here that the baby is trying a lemon and it's so tart that his lips start to pucker and he starts to drool. Usually things that are tart have that kind of reaction from people. And other tart things might include some kinds of oranges that are very bitter or sour, and something like green apples are often tart. Now, tart can also mean someone is being sharp in manner or tone. So it's talking about their behavior. When a person's words are tart, they sound sharp, unfriendly, or maybe a little bit rude. So I can say, she gave a tart reply when her brother teased her. So if he teased her about something, whatever she said back to him was a little bit rude or unfriendly, so it can be described as being tart. And the other way we use the word tart is as a noun. It is a small pie, usually filled with fruit. For example, I had a peach tart for dessert. So a tart usually looks like this, and in this picture here, this one is an egg or a custard tart. But as the definition says, it is usually filled with fruit like strawberries or peaches, for example. Have you ever had a tart before? And that's all for this video. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye!